So now that you know the fees associated with taking the Praxis core and the two different ways that you can take the Praxis core, we're now going to talk about registration. So here is the link to register for the Praxis core test. So www.ets.org/praxis/register and then /. So this is the actual page that you're going to be brought to. So one of the things that's going to happen is that you're going to need to set up a Praxis account. So you're going to click on this right here, and that's going to force you to set up an account. Now, I've already set up an account with them. So you are actually seeing what it will look like after you create a username and password. So once you do that, make sure you write it down because actually this is very important. The same username and password will be used for all additional Praxis tests that you take. Remember, the Praxis core is to get into a teacher prep program, but you will also be required to take Praxis 2 in the content area or areas that you are seeking teacher certification. So again, you would be registering for those tests using that username and password. So definitely write that down and update it, regularly. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to register for a Praxis test, okay? Now, I just want to point this out. If you are a student who does have a disability, you may be eligible for testing accommodations. What I suggest is you do read over the different, information you're going to need to know about that, but more importantly, that you schedule an appointment with a disability coordinator in Edison Room 100. They can actually help you fill out the paperwork, and most likely they have your testing, your prior assessment that's going to be needed to be submitted for ETS to make a determination if you're eligible or not for testing accommodations. So do that first if you do have a disability before you go to register. Okay, so let's talk about registration now. So I'm going to register for a Praxis test. I'm going to click this button here. Okay, you know the testing requirements. That's in a previous module. If you want any more information about the Praxis, go forward. You can click on these different links. Okay, so it's going to ask you to acknowledge and read this statement, basically that you are an ethical person. You're providing all the correct information. You're not trying to cheat the system, your rights, all that fun stuff. So just, take a look at it. You don't want to agree to anything that you're not 100% sure of. But if you do agree to it, then you hit I agree. Okay, then that's going to prompt you to the next. Okay, now this is where it's going to ask you for some more information. It's going to ask you for your birth date, your social security number. I obviously am keeping this blank just because this is a tutorial. I use the college's address for my address, but this is where you're going to put in the correct address and information. Now, for your email address, I would suggest you use your personal email because, as I mentioned, when you graduate and you go on to your teacher prep program and have to take the Praxis 2, it's going to refer to your email address. And if you use your Middlesex, you might not have access to it. So I do suggest you use an email that you will check regularly and that you have access to. Okay, so once you do all your content, make sure it's all up to date, make sure it's accurate, and also, this is another important thing, make sure that your name reads exactly the same way as your driver's license or identification card. That is very important. So let's say your name is Amanda, but you go by Mandy, and you put Mandy in here. They're going to deny you access because they're going to ask for your driver's license when you check in on the day of your test. And if it doesn't match your driver's license, they're going to send you packing. So make sure this information right here, your personal information, your date of birth, all of that matches your driver's license. And I know some people change their names, they've hyphenated their names, they've done lots of things with their names. Just make sure whatever's on your driver's license or ID matches what you put in here. Okay, so you're going to check all that, and then once you're ready, you hit continue. Okay, then this is going to ask you some background information. You don't have to answer this. As you can see, it's strongly recommended. So if you don't want to fill this out, then don't do it. If you want to share information with them, feel free. This is completely up to you. So as you can see, I'm just going to skip past this now. And then once you're done with this, you hit continue. Okay, so now you've got to put in your state. So let's go to New Jersey. Now, if you are applying to an out-of-state teacher prep program, then you do need to put in that state, okay? But if you're doing New Jersey, you're going to put New Jersey, and then this box, you're going to put New Jersey Department of Education, and then you're going to hit search. Okay, remember I told you about those codes, okay? So right here, thank goodness, it's right in the front, are the core tests. Now remember, you could decide to do it all together. If you do that, you're going to check this box right here. You could decide to do each of them separately. Now, I believe if you do them separate, oh, you can do it all. Okay, so you can do it like that. And then just remember, you would have to schedule each of these dates separately. Or if you decide to do it combined, then you click combined. So I'm going to select combined just for ease of doing this tutorial. Okay, so I'm done. I got my combined. I got to scroll down and go to continue. Okay, this is important. When you get to this screen, make sure you see the tests that you are scheduling. So if you're doing combined, make sure it says core academic skills test combined. If you're doing reading and writing and math separately, then make sure you see all three in this area. Okay, I see that I'm doing combined. I'm ready to schedule my computer test. Okay, so what it's going to do now is it wants to find you a testing center. So Middlesex County College does not provide the test at our college. You actually have to go to an ETS testing center. So what you're going to do is put in your zip code. I'm just going to use the colleges just to make it easier. Okay. So here's all of the testing locations I can choose from. Now remember, I put in, Edison's. So the closest testing site is Clark. Now Clark has two different ones. Just select the top one. To this day, we don't know why, but there is really no difference. Just select this one. But if you select that one, it doesn't matter. It's the same site, okay? If you want something, let's go down a little bit more. There's one in Hamilton. There's one in Trenton, Fairlawn. Let's see. Ocean County College has one if you're closer to down there. Rowan County has one in Mount Laurel. So here's the different locations. If you're interested, if you want to take it in Pennsylvania, that's fine. But again, if you decide to take it in any of these out-of-state areas, it's okay because you're following New Jersey's regulations and you're registering under New Jersey. Remember, we had to select that during one of our earlier stages. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just select Clark because that's the closest. I thought there was one at Brookdale, but I guess not. So maybe there is, but I didn't see it. So let's continue. Okay, now the next part. So now you've got to select your actual date. So here's a couple things. Obviously, if you're doing each of them separately, it's going to prompt you for each one. So you want to decide which one you want to do first, second, third, that sort of thing. Remember, I'm doing it as if I'm doing the combined. Now, when you do take the test, if you do it combined, you do not get to choose which test you take first, second, and third. You just are given it, and that's the way it is. So here's the testing dates that are available. I'm just going to select, let's say 10 o'clock. Okay, July 10th at 9 a.m. So I would do that. If I select a different date, there might be a different time. Okay, I'm going to hit continue. All right, so here's the important thing. You want to make sure that the testing center is the one you located. You make sure the test over here is good, and make sure this is the date that you selected. Okay, so again, this is the date you are going to keep because if you change it, you have to pay $40. So I'm going to do confirm and continue. Okay, and then it's going to ask you where you want your scores identify your attending institute. This is where you're going to put in 2413. That's Middlesex County College's code. Okay, so 2413, and then that looks good. So that's where I'm going to school. Continue. Okay, that's where I'm going. And then do you want your scores sent to them? Yes. Please select yes because we do capture the scores. And also, again, we're going to be seeing who's doing this tutorial. And we want to see how effective the tutorial is. So please do yes. And again, the code is 2413. Then you're going to hit continue. Okay, now this is important. Where do you want your scores sent? Okay, now automatically they're going to be sent to the New Jersey DOE and obviously to Middlesex County. But now you get to select up to 4 where you would like the other, scores sent. So I suggest you send your scores to any teacher prep program you are thinking of enrolling in. If you are thinking of just one, then just send it to the one. If you have a few in mind, send it to everybody. Even if you fail and you have to retake it, it doesn't matter. They're going to see that you passed it eventually, and they'll have those scores all ready when you go ahead and apply for the teacher prep program. So again, you would be doing that by doing add score recipient, then you would search for each teacher prep program. At that point, you probably have to type in the name, okay, and then that will prompt you to select the additional scores. Now, if you remember back to the service fee, it is $50 for to send beyond 4. So if you do decide, hey, maybe I want to apply to 6 different programs, then you have to pay for those additional 2. And it's $50 to send it to any additional institute. Okay, then you hit continue, and then it's going to ask you if you want to purchase any test prep materials. You can decide to do that. That is up to you. That's the price. Okay, you can purchase one from each. You can get a math if you want. You can do reading, writing. That's all up to you. All right, then whatever you decide to do, you do it there. Then you hit continue, and then it wants you to review everything before you pay. Okay, so if you decide to do test prep, it's going to show up there. Here's how much it's going to cost. Okay, just make sure everything looks okay if you do decide to do the test prep. And then you're going to pay, and these are the different ways that you can pay. And then there is a voucher option. Again, you can look up that if you'd like. Okay, so at that point, I'm going to stop it just because I'm not going to pay. All right, so again, review the different steps so that you know exactly what test you're going to be looking for, how you're scheduling your dates, and remember, keep your dates so you don't have to pay any cancellation or change of date fees.